Now your forecast first on the 4 on 5.
All right, good afternoon. Bottom of the hour. It is now 4:30 and a live look outside from Dauphin Island Sea Lab. It is our Eastern Shore Toyota camera. We're seeing some clouds out there, especially looking off to the east. Things are actually sunny when you look to the west. 81 degrees by 7 p.m. We'll even a small mention of a shower and some good breezes out there. The seas again are picking up. We're keeping our eyes on our cameras there at the coast. The double reds are flying at Orange Beach and our Sweat Tires camera on 77. And from Fort Walton Beach, that's the view from Destin West Vacations. Got some surfers out there doing exactly what folks are urged not to do. Seeing those waves continuing to crash on the pillars there as temperatures will hit 75 degrees this evening. More on Helene straight ahead. We'll talk more about the surge impacts as the 4 on 5 continues now.
It's already considered a major hurricane and it's gaining strength. Straight ahead, the newest update on Hurricane Helene, how much stronger it's expected to get before making landfall. We will also take a look at local roads and those closer to the storm's path.
Local coverage you can count on. You're watching WKRG News, the 4 on 5.
Thank you all so much for staying with us. This is the 4 on 5. I'm Cherish Lombard, and we continue to track Hurricane Helene. It is getting ready to make landfall within just a few hours along Florida's Gulf Coast. Chief Meteorologist Ed Bloodsworth is tracking it every moment. Now, Ed, this is going to make a huge impact on the Big Bend region and surrounding areas.
Yeah, potentially bring a storm surge that this area has not seen in modern history. Again, this is one of those parts of the Gulf Coast where, I mean, you never want to see a hurricane hit, but especially this particular part of the coast, that Big Bend of Florida, when a strong enough storm comes in, the surge numbers can be quite impressive. Speaking of impressive, look at this. These are the current wave heights estimated that the hurricane is now kicking off. Nearly 30-foot waves right now occurring in the Gulf of Mexico, close to that eye, that center of circulation. But even our stretch of the Gulf Coast, we're starting to see some of those waves approaching 10 feet just offshore, and our wave activity will continue to rise. Right now, we're seeing around 6 to 7 foot swells now moving in. Those will peak over 10 feet in some areas. The surge, take a look at these numbers, absolutely impressive across that Florida's Big Bend, where we could still foresee maybe around 15 to 20 feet of the highest surge there. Most areas will see 9 to 15 feet of surge. And again, all that's going to come very quickly as the storm makes its landfall right around 7 to 8 o'clock tonight. Again, that latest track just in from the Hurricane Center, no changes here. This is set to make landfall. We will not see any big adjustments between now, because in fact, the next big update is the 7 p.m. update, and by that time, the storm's going to be on shore. And still, we're getting signs that the storm is getting stronger, seeing some winds maybe approaching 130 by the time this comes ashore. It'll weaken, but spread rain and wind all the way inland. There's that eye that'll make landfall here. That northern eye wall is where the nasty weather will move. It'll move over St. Mark's, Apalachicola, Tallahassee, and then eventually working its way through southern Georgia, Valdosta, Albany, Macon. Some big metropolitan centers will be seeing tropical weather, something a lot of folks aren't used to dealing with that far inland. So this will be a storm that unfortunately we're going to wake up to a lot of damage here across this stretch of the Gulf Coast. We'll talk a little bit more about any local effects from this system in just a few minutes.
We have News 5 crews positioned along Florida's Gulf Coast from Pensacola to Tallahassee ahead of Helene's landfall. Meteorologist Grant Skinner is in Walton County with the weather beast. Grant, I see you have your hood up now. Windy, a little bit of rain starting to fall too.
Yeah, it's a bit windy, not too unbearable. Light showers right now. We'll see the winds pick up into this evening. Overall, it's been not too bad. There's still a lot of folks out here trying to take advantage of the time they have here along the coastline. When you look at tomorrow, though, you know, it's just a flipped script for areas along the coastline. You got gross conditions into this evening, but then by tomorrow morning, this thing will be out of here, drier air, so people are holding it out here, especially with only tropical storm conditions expected along the coastline. But even with tropical storm conditions, you still have really rough surf, and you'll see that offshore. Of course, double red flags flying here because of that rough surf. Folks here are definitely staying out of the Most folks are just walking along the beach. I talked with some folks that were from Atlanta. They were saying that they, again, are mainly concerned about those flooding rains pushing inland throughout the next couple of days, causing some issues across parts of Georgia, as Ed mentioned. And but here along the coastline, mainly just some light rain for now. We'll have some heavier downpours into this evening as the storm finally moves inland. And of course, those breezy conditions will continue to cause rough surf along the coastline here and all the way along the coastline, with those winds getting greater the further you head east, closer to the center of where this storm will make landfall. This storm was a little bit weaker yesterday. Today, it's getting a lot stronger, of course, undergoing rapid intensification. So those stronger winds will spread inland as this moves into the Big Bend. But here, for parts of Walton County, mainly just some gusty winds, tropical storm force winds are possible throughout the course this evening, with winds gusting up to around 50 to 60 miles per hour in some spots along Walton County, Bay County, and areas inland as well. Someone else that's keeping an eye on the conditions along the Gulf Coast is Darius McCormick. He's in Okaloosa County along the coastline. Darius, what are you seeing so far?
I'll take it from here, Grant. Thank you so much. Be safe. Let's jump over to where Helene is expected to cause a lot of catastrophic damage. Florida's Big Bend region. Kristen Curry is joining us live from there. Kristen, very wet where you are.
Absolutely, Cherish, and we know it's only going to get worse and worse. This storm's still over 100 miles offshore, but closing in quickly, expected to make landfall along the Big Bend here later on tonight. Now, there is the possibility that Tallahassee still sits in the center, and the last time that's happened, as we talked about, was about 8 years ago. But this town, you know, it's a college town. We've got Florida State University here. We've got Florida A&M, Tallahassee State. All universities have canceled classes for the rest of the week, but there are some who remained in the dorms, as it's not a mandatory evacuation here in Tallahassee. But I know Florida State University set up some refugees on campus for those students to go into those, you know, most interior rooms, as it's not only just going to be the winds and the rain. I know just to our south and west, we've got some tornado warnings up as well, as those bands come on shore, interact with the land, and unfortunately put down those quick spin ups. So we're going to be watching these conditions for y'all all night. I know we've got some of your own here with us in Tallahassee, and we were coordinating with them, exchanging forecasting back and forth. So it's going to be a long night, but an important night.
Thank you, Kristen. Now to Okaloosa County. WKRG News 5's Darius McCormick is on Okaloosa Island. And Darius, another windy. We see a lot of sand now, but we do know the wind has been picking up there and it is wet. Darius, can you hear us?
So out here we are so far so good. We do have some strong winds up to 25 miles per hour, but at the moment there's been no rain. Double red flags out here on Pensacola Beach, as you can see this intense surf behind me. Now at the moment, Escambia County is in a state of emergency, but there are no signs of evacuation orders. Now earlier today I sat down with Escambia County Emergency Manager Travis Tompkins, who emphasizes the importance of having a plan going forward into these next few days.
Having enough food and water per person for at least a week. You know, it used to be 72 hours on you. That is no longer the message. It's 7 days. So that it could be 1 week ready, that people really need to stay. We're in the height of the season right now. We really need to take this serious.
Currently, the Florida Department of Emergency Management is using Escambia's Emergency Operations Center to keep a close eye on the severity of Hurricane Helene. We will keep you updated as new information becomes available. Live on Pensacola Beach, Hannah O'Gara, WKRG News 5.